Name is Louie Milgrom. I am the rabbi and Hillel director at the Hillel Foundation located at the University of Minnesota. The date is Thursday, January 16th. I want this transcription to be sent to me at the Hillel Foundation, 1521 University Avenue Southeast, Minneapolis, Minnesota, 55414. I am sincerely sorry that this request to record my experiences during the period when I served as chaplain of the United States Army Air Force in Germany from late June 1945 until late October, because I have been keeping many of the records and the photographs ever since 1945. Only recently did I dispose of much of the material, consisting largely of letters that I had sent to my wife and family daily throughout that entire period. What I have left in significant photographs I have Xeroxed and marked for your purposes. I hope that they will be of some help to you. And now to answer the questions that you have asked. Where and when did you first encounter survivors of the Holocaust? I encountered survivors of the Holocaust for the first time in Fürth, Germany. They were a mixture of people who had remained in Fürth, most of them in hiding, virtually all of them products of mixed marriage, totaling 18 adults, one child, but several hundred people from camps, mostly from Dachau. One of them was a Rabbi Shapiro, who had just come out of Dachau and who was destined to become the rabbi of the Jewish community as it developed before my eyes. And I helped him establish himself in that position. In picture number 1, you will see a ceremony of the burial of stray bones on the Fürth Cemetery that took place in August 1945. I am there in this picture doing the talking at that moment. The picture was taken by one of our Air Force photographers. Beside me on one side is my fellow chaplain, Lutheran chaplain, with whom I shared a home in Erlangen, about 8 miles from Fürth. And on the other side of me is a Rabbi Shapiro, an American ground forces chaplain who had come to look for his brother. Indeed, his brother was the Rabbi Shapiro who's standing next to him in the center of the photograph, who had just come out of Dachau. And he found him here around this period. And we all participated in the ceremony of the burial of the bones, which took place in August. We had all been active for some time in straightening up this cemetery. There were 2 Jewish cemeteries in Fürth, one a comparatively new one, which was not as badly desecrated as the one where we are standing, which was the old one. And we received permission to do our best to straighten out the cemetery with the help of many German prisoners. This was done with the greatest cooperation by the AMG, the American military government, stationed in Firth. Around us in this picture there stands one man whom I can very well identify, the one on the left after the ladies is a cantor who came out of Theresienstadt during July, the former cantor of Firth, and joined us at that time. From then on, he chanted the services. The others are a combination of natives of Firth. That is, a few of them are natives of Firth. Most of the others are people from concentration camps or people who had attached themselves. There was a whole ring of people surrounding us. This certainly is not a picture of the full group on that day. Behind us, as a matter of fact, peeping through between myself and Rabbi Shapiro, the American chaplain, is Mr. Leo Rosenthal, who was at that time the leader of those who had remained in Firth. It was this Mr. Rosenthal who organized the community of German Jews from Firth and went to the American military government and won the right to take possession in the name of the Jewish community, the 18 from Firth, of the Jewish buildings and properties. Included were several synagogues, the Jewish Center, the Jewish Hospital, the Jewish Orphanage, and the synagogue that stood alongside it. In fact, this synagogue was the only one that we felt we might attempt to rebuild. And so we received special permission from the American military government, a sergeant actually acting as mayor in Firth, to rebuild and refurbish this synagogue with the help of well over 100 German prisoners, so that we might use it during the high holidays in September, which indeed we did. And you will see a picture of the synagogue, picture number 6, which shows me standing shortly before the actual high holidays. During the high holidays, pictures were taken but were lost. The pictures were included the German mayor, who asked for permission to join us at services, and at first I forbade it, but the American military government prevailed upon me to allow him to sit close to the rabbis during the service. Actually, during this time, I was living in Erlangen, but I did most of my work and spent most of my time in Firth and in the Nuremberg area, working with these people, attempting to help them. When I arrived, they were receiving a certain amount of money, I suppose very much like scrip, from the German government, which they could use to eat. And they were being housed in various places. A good number of them were occupying the Jewish hospital. In those days, it was possible to ask Germans to leave places like Jewish institutions and simply order them to permit Jewish concentration camp inmates or anybody who was coming through from almost anywhere. And we found many wandering Jews in bunkers. I remember finding a good number of them in the city of Nuremberg. On one occasion, I was walking down the street of Nuremberg, and somebody asked me to go with him. And I assumed that they recognized my Jewish chaplain's insignia. They took me to a bunker, and there I found some 40 people who had found their way out of Poland down to Nuremberg. And I helped them go to Munich, where they made up their minds whether they want to go to Israel through the Brenner Pass and into the camps that had been established by the Palestine Brigade in Italy, or whether to go to America. I remember in those days I asked the questions and got their answers and gave those questions and answers to other people, to members of the brigade who were around, or I transferred them myself, taking them in trucks down to places like Munich, where I turned them over to the Stadtmuseum, where there were some 1,000 cots for people wandering around in Germany, which was presided over by the Central Committee of people out of the concentration camp under the leadership of Zalman Greenberg, a doctor who was himself in the concentration camp and with whom I talked many times, with the assistance of an American chaplain, Chaplain Klausner, who did an enormous amount of work, as you all undoubtedly know, in the Munich area, and thereby hangs a tale. Shortly after I arrived, I had spent more than a year before that in England with the 8th Air Force, operating out of a headquarters about 18 miles north of Cambridge, near a small city named Huntington, but actually in Brampton Lodge. Shortly after I came to Germany, a couple of weeks after VE Day, I contacted an old friend of mine, Chaplain Max Browdy, who is now the international director of ORT. And he was at that time stationed somewhere near the Munich area, somewhere south of Munich, in an army headquarters. And he told me over the phone that the Chaplain Klausner, who had done a great deal of work, may have to go back to his outfit. And he asked me if I was ready to take over if necessary, and I said I was. And we made an appointment to meet together, Chaplain Browdy, Chaplain Klausner, and I. I was talking from Erlangen, and so we decided that we would meet in Munich, because we didn't know exactly what the best place would be, and we needed a locale that we all knew about, at least. We decided to meet in the old beer hall Putsch that Hitler used in 1921. I figured that I would somehow be able to find that, and that's exactly where we met, right outside the beer hall. And we talked over possibilities, and immediately Chaplain Klausner and Chaplain Browdy took me on a tour of the Stadtmuseum in Munich and other installations that had been set aside as the first DP camps without permission by the American government, but somehow perhaps silent assent. There was Feldefing, the camp at Feldefing, Saint Ottilien, the hospital, where there had been 200 Germans and they already had close to 1,000 Jews out of the concentration camps. A place where I once spent a night just to see what it's like, in one of the beds, in a crowded room. Goding, which was a tuberculosis hospital, but which was turned over to the DPs. As it turned out, Chaplain Klausner never did have to leave, so long as I was there. At least he was still there when I left in late October. But I plied my trade mostly in Firth, but several times a week, driving down to Munich and trying to be of some help to Chaplain Klausner, bringing food rations, bringing clothing, whatever I could muster, sometimes bringing concentration camp inmates that I found here, there, and elsewhere, and cutting my own orders with their names as though I were some official who was really empowered to move people around, but nobody asked any questions, and I never had any trouble moving from one place to another, getting all the supplies and everything I needed. One of the things that I did very successfully was to inform my former colleagues, both the British civilian rabbis and the chaplains in England, about what I was doing, and asking them to send me canned goods, food, soap, clothing, especially warm winter clothing, old fur coats, and put the bundles on any American airfield marked Chaplain Milgrom, 9th Air Force, Erlangen, and before long the bundles began to arrive so rapidly that I had to have 3 assistants who drove trucks carrying all these supplies to Firth, and also, and perhaps mostly, to Munich, to the Stadtmuseum, where Chaplain Klausner had his headquarters. Picture number 2 is marked "The Magazine in Firth, August 45", and that shows Mr. Rosenthal and myself classifying some of the packages that had arrived with the help of some of the other DPs. I did not pay too close attention as to what happened to these things, but they were rationed out to the people. When I arrived, there may have been about 250, and later there were more. I left it to Mr. Rosenthal and the committee. Second question: with what Army unit were you involved during the period in which you helped the survivors of the Holocaust? That was the 9th Air Force, but I must say that the 9th Air Force knew what I was doing, and they really liberated me so that I could spend all my time helping the displaced persons. Not only I, but the officers and the men in my outfit, mostly Jews, but also non-Jews, volunteered to help them very frequently, went with me, did everything they possibly could to help us in this endeavor. Question 3, what other experiences did you have with the remnants of European Jewry after this initial encounter? As much detail as possible. I, for example, conducted services on Saturday mornings in the Firth Opera House, and my congregation consisted of American GIs, Jews from Firth who had come back, or those who had remained, and also a good number of Jews who had come to Firth because it was rapidly becoming a place where DPs felt very comfortable. There was more room for them than there were in places like Munich, and in addition to the regular food stamps that the government gave them, they had food and clothing that was rationed out from this, what they called the magazine in Firth, that consisted entirely of material from packages that were sent to me by rabbis, congregations, chaplains all over England, and some from my own family and friends in America. On that first Saturday morning, there seemed to be great discord between the German Jews who felt at home, who felt that Firth was theirs, and the DPs who had come out of the concentration camps and did not enjoy being treated as second-class citizens. One of the very first things I did was to bring about a meeting together, and with the GIs too, letting them know that there must be no differences between Jews of Germany, Jews of Poland, those who came from Theresienstadt, those who came from out of Dachau, or those who originally lived in Firth, and those who had just come to Firth, and that I was going to help them all with the help of the American Army and the men in my outfit. We were going to do everything we possibly can on one condition, that we hear nothing at all in the future about any divisiveness or any kind of jealousy or any contention between the different groups. And I must say that once we got rolling and everybody was placed properly, there was only a desire to go on that they all experienced, but there was no serious divisiveness among them. Question 4. Were you involved in getting packages from the United States and distributing them to the survivors? As I said, I was very much so. As I said also, some of it came from Jewish GI personnel, but a great deal of it came in planes, mostly B-17s from the 9th and the 8th Air Force that were going back and forth on practice flights. And I think many of them knew without any difficulty how to zero down to this airfield near Erlangen, from where we gathered all this material and sent it on to Firth. I will enclose a list of one load that came from England. It's dated, as you will see, Firth, September 22nd, 1945. And you may notice that it includes boxes of gefilte fish and household milk. These usually came under the aegis of the chief rabbi of England at that time, Rabbi Hertz. Not only were the congregations in England send a lot of their canned goods and clothes this way, but also the chief rabbi himself, out of the stock of kosher foods that he had supervised by his assistants. Some of this stuff was sent right out of these wholesale houses to us, but there are also a lot, mostly sent by laymen through congregations where they gathered these things together, made big packages out of them, and put them on B-17s in various airfields that crisscrossed England and onto our airfield in Erlangen, where we picked them up in several trucks and brought them down first to the magazine in Firth, and then from there on to various other places. Please note that among other things there were 1,823 pieces of soap. Soap was very, very rare at that time, and we put in a call for soap, and got a lot of it because we made a special plea for it. And you will notice that here in this consignment, we actually received 1,823 pieces of soap. One of my assistants told me that while he was delivering this soap from the airfield to the Jewish Center in Firth, he was stopped by some people on the road who wanted to pay him a fortune, many thousands of dollars, for the soap alone. I must say that none of my assistants, nor anybody who worked with me, was ever caught, and I don't think anybody ever participated in any kind of black market activities. Everything that was ever delivered to these airports was picked up and sent to the Jewish Center in Firth at that time. Question number 4. No, I just answered 4. 5. How were you able to provide food and other necessities to these survivors? Please be specific, giving as many details as you can remember. I think I answered them because by the time I arrived, they were already receiving food stamps from the government, but they were complaining about the kind of food they were getting, and after we got our packages going, we were able to supplement them. Also, there were a good number of American GIs who gave up their rations. It was very easy to go into a kitchen and tell the cook, and very frequently the cook was Jewish, but that really didn't make a great deal of difference, even when the cook was non-Jewish. If we told him what we wanted for, he would fill up a truck, if possible, with rations of all kinds, and we would take them wherever we wanted. This was done on numerous occasions. I remember one special occasion when Chaplain Klausner told me that they were short in gas for the trucks that they were running out of the Stadtmuseum to Feldafing and Landsberg, which was another huge DP camp. I went down to my outfit and asked for a truckload of gas in 5-gallon tanks, and I brought them down to him. Myself, on many occasions, my assistants brought things like that down to him. We never counted, we never had a record. All this was done without any record. It was just done out of the fullness of their hearts. We were all glad to do it. We walked around with a terrible guilt feeling that it happened to them and not to us. And every one of us was driven by a desire to do everything he possibly could to make it up to them. And we found that this feeling, to some extent, was shared by everybody. Jewish enlisted men, Jewish officers. There wasn't anything they wouldn't do to help these people. And in the Firth area proper, I believe those who settled or came through really received all the help they needed. Munich was a different story because the need was so great and the number of people involved was so enormous that it was difficult, but it was done in Munich too. However, I'm sure that the story of what happened in Munich, you must already have from chaplains Browdy and chaplains Klausner. Because if you don't have their stories, then you're really lacking a great deal, because I was not in that area anywhere near as long, nor did I deal with anywhere near as many people. I remember the day when Chaplain Klausner went to a print shop with me, where he had just printed up the first lists consisting of a book of about 15,000 names of people out of concentration camps, survivors who were in the Nuremberg area. And that was shortly after I arrived. So a great deal had been done already by the end of June 1945. I believe they had been in that area by that time for 3 months, or perhaps a little bit more. Question 7, what was the American Army's reaction to your activities on behalf of European Jewry on all levels? I regret that I don't remember names and ranks. I had them. I kept them for a long time in these letters that I sent to my wife, but seeing that nobody wanted them, I comparatively recently got rid of them, but I received a great deal of help from people I can't remember, and I saw a lot of people helping on their own. This was always very interesting to me, because the Army did not officially endorse the work of the Jewish chaplains in Germany until the high holidays, when General Eisenhower came to visit some of the DP camps. He did not visit us, although we were hoping he would come, because we had a beautiful service and a huge overflowing congregation in Firth for the high holidays. We had a wonderful celebration on Sukkot and Simchas Torah that year too. I might refer to the sergeant who served as the American military government mayor, or substitute mayor, in Firth, to whom I came on the first day of my arrival to help us fix up some of the Jewish property so that they would be livable. And he was not a Jewish young man. He was very much in charge of the community, because his seniors, the officers, were busy with other things. They were out almost all the time. I very rarely got to see them. He was really running the community and acting as mayor, and I got full cooperation from him. I don't think it would have made any difference who it was. Everybody was cooperating. But in this particular instance, this young man told me that he had been taken as an orphan into a Jewish home, and he was raised as a non-Jew in a Jewish home, in his original faith, by people to whom he owed his life, and to whom he owed everything he had, and he was willing to do anything. He told me that he would be glad to do anything I ask. He said, just challenge me, anything, to help the DPs settling in Germany or coming through. Question 8. Did you have any contact with the JDC, and if so, how would you describe your association with them? How did you view your role? With whom did you work? How would you evaluate their efforts? 9. Did you work with the Jewish Agency during your stay in Europe? 10. What was the nature of your involvement? Please be specific about names, places, and people. Can these people be located today? 11. Did you work with UNRWA? Please tell me about your specific experiences and general impression of their work. I put all these things together because I believe that the JDC people were at that time wearing UNRWA patches. I knew that they were JDC, but they were marked as UNRWA people. This was in August of 1945, and so far as I know, this was the very first committee of JDC people to come and contact our general area. I was told by Rabbi Klausner that they were coming, and he and I met with them and a small committee of DPs who had been officially elected as a Central Committee under the chairmanship of Dr. Zalman Greenberg and a young rabbi who I believe was related to him, and another doctor who I believe was his brother-in-law. And as it turned out, I was the only one in this small group. I think there were 4 or 5 JDC people, 1 woman, the others men. I was the only one who could speak both English and Yiddish. And so I acted largely as an interpreter between the Central Committee of DPs who spoke Yiddish and the JDC representatives who spoke English. I was amazed that the JDC would send their first team into an important area like Munich. We actually met in the hospital at St. Ottilien, where I remember we drank coffee made of acorns. And that was the night when things took so long that I did not want to drive all the way back through Munich up into Fürth and Erlangen. So I spent the night right in the hospital at St. Ottilien and felt what it means to be a DP as I slept with some 10 DPs in one small room of this hospital at St. Ottilien. I recall the conversation almost verbatim. I can always see the expressions on the faces of the people who asked the questions and the answers that were given. It was not a satisfactory meeting at all. I'm sure that later on good contact was established, but in August 1945, when Dr. Zalman Greenberg told me to ask them in Yiddish, he said, "Fragt sie, was unsere Vetters